You just crossed the finish line of a 5K race, well behind the time you trained for. Before you start your next training block, you want to figure out why you were so slow. The evidence is right on your computer. Because you're a Python programmer, you logged every run in your training block in a Python dictionary. The dictionary stores the run dates as keys and the run distances as values. You have several theories about why your race didn't go well. Maybe your average run was too short. Maybe the training block was too short. Maybe your longest runs never went far enough. You could work all that out by hand, averaging the distances and counting the days off a calendar yourself. But you don't need to. The tools for these jobs already exist in Python's standard library and in libraries built by the Python community. So we're going to practice finding and using the right tool for each job, one problem at a time. If you want to follow along with us, the notebook we're using is linked in the description. Alright, let's get an answer to our first question. How far did a typical run actually go? To answer that question, we'll calculate the average distance from the log. We could calculate that average by hand, but it's such a common operation that Python ships with this function as part of its standard library. To figure out which function to use, we can go to the Python standard library documentation website and search for an average function. There we'll find the statistics module's mean function. If you want to see more about how the standard library documentation works, check out our main video on this topic linked in the description. Since the statistics module comes with Python, there's nothing to install. We just import the function we need by writing from the statistics module, import mean. Now to use the mean function, we first need all the distances from the dictionary as a plain list. To do that, we can use the list casting function on the dictionary's values, saving the result to a variable. Now to calculate the average, we can pass the distances list into the mean function. Finally, we print the result, rounded to 1 decimal place. Running the cell, our average distance comes out to 5.1 kilometers. An average right around 5 kilometers seems reasonable. We were training for a 5K race after all. So we've ruled out our first explanation. The average run wasn't too short. But maybe the whole training block was. So in problem 2, let's count the days in our training block, from our very first run all the way to race day. What makes this task tricky is our dates are just represented as strings. And Python can't count the days between 2 pieces of text. We could count the days off a calendar ourselves, but that type of manual work is exactly where mistakes sneak in. Working with dates is also a very common need in programming, which is why Python already ships with a bunch of helpful date-related tools. To see where those tools are located, we can again check Python's official documentation and search for a date-related module. There we'll find the datetime module, and inside it, the date class's from ISO format method. From ISO format takes a date written as a string, like the ones in our dictionary, and turns it into a real calendar date, one Python can do math with. To use this method, we import the class by writing from datetime import date. Later in our code, we'll be able to call the date class's from ISO format method, passing in the strings we'd like to convert to dates as an argument. Those strings are our first run and race day, which we need to find in the dictionary first. Since the dates are all in the same year, month, day format, to get the earliest and latest dates, we can call the built-in min and max functions directly on the dictionary. But min and max don't convert the date strings into real dates. To turn those strings into real dates Python can do math with, we pass them into the from ISO format method, saving the results as first run date and race day date. With both of these as real dates, we can subtract first run date from race day date, just like we would 2 numbers. Running the code, that subtraction gives us the time delta, or stretch of time between the 2 dates. To turn that time delta into a number we can work with, we surround the subtraction in parentheses and call .days on it. To output that number with proper formatting, let's save the result in a variable, and then use an f-string to print it. Running the cell, we get well-formatted output, saying our training block was 54 days long. That's nearly 8 weeks, plenty of time to get ready for a 5K. So the problem also wasn't that the training block was too short. That means we're down to our final theory. Maybe our longest runs never went far enough. So in problem 3, let's display the whole log as a ranked table, longest runs first. If the longest runs are the problem, the top rows will tell us. For this problem, we're given the same run dictionary as before. We're also given a few new lines of code that sort and rank the dictionary entries from the longest distance to the shortest. All we need to do is display the ranked entries in a nicely formatted table. The trouble is how to create that table. Formatting one by hand is really tedious, and no module we've used so far makes tables. Worse, if we did some research, we'd find that nothing in the standard library can help us. But creating a table, like averaging or date math, is a common programming need. And for common needs that the standard library doesn't cover, the Python community often steps in and builds libraries. That's the case here. To find the best community library for our needs, we can ask an AI assistant like Claude. Claude would point us to the tabulate library's tabulate function. This function takes rows of data like our run ranks, dates, and distances, and lines them up to print this neat table. But the tabulate library comes from the community, not Python itself. So before we can import the library, we need to download and install it. That download and install job belongs to pip, Python's package manager. Back in our notebook, we can use pip to install tabulate in a new code cell. To use terminal commands in a code cell, we write an exclamation point first, followed by the pip install tabulate command. Running it, the output tells us the requirement is already satisfied. That's because Google Colab comes with several popular community-built libraries out of the box. So, we can remove the install cell and import the tabulate function from the tabulate library. Now, with the function imported, we can call it, passing in the ranked list as an argument. To display the output, we print it. Running the cell, we get a nicely formatted table with all of our runs ranked from longest to shortest. The only thing missing is the column headers. To add those, we simply pass a list of header names to the tabulate function. Running the code again, we get exactly the table we're looking for. Now, under the headers, at the top of our table, sits our longest runs, 8 kilometers, 7.5, and 7. All of those are well past race distance. So that last explanation doesn't fit either. The longest runs went plenty far. That means every theory we've had is incorrect, and we still don't know why the race went badly. Looking back at the questions we asked, though, we realized something we didn't check: the frequency of our runs. So that's our final theory. Maybe we just didn't run often enough. One way to find out is to visualize the frequency of our runs with a histogram. The x-axis will show the number of days between each run, and the y-axis will show how many times each gap length occurred across the training block. That's what we'll build in problem 4, a histogram of the rest days between our runs. We'll use the same run dictionary we've been working with so far. We're also given starter code that converts the date strings into real dates, just like we did in problem 2. The starter code then uses a for loop to compute the number of days between each of those dates. Our job now is to visualize the rest days list in a histogram. For drawing charts, including histograms, the community's go-to library is matplotlib. If you've watched our main video on this topic, you already know how to install matplotlib and navigate the docs to find the modules and functions you're looking for. If not, make sure to check out that video in the description. While matplotlib doesn't come with Python, it does come pre-installed in Colab, so we don't need to install anything. But if you're working somewhere else, you'll need to use the command pip install matplotlib to install the library. Matplotlib provides functionality to create histograms in the plt module, so we'll import that. To make it easier to call the functions in the plt module, we'll assign it the nickname plt. Okay, now with the plt module imported, we can finally create our histogram. The function we need to create a histogram is the plt module's hist function. This function takes the rest days list as an argument. Then, to display the plot, we call the show function. Running the cell, we do indeed get a histogram that shows our rest day data. But honestly, it's a bit hard to read. How do we interpret the width of these bars and their placement on the x-axis? It's not immediately clear. To make our histogram more clear, and to help us get the answer to our run frequency question, we need to do some more work. Right now, the hist function is free to pick its own bar width, and with rest gaps this small, it slices our data into bars thinner than a single day. Back in the hist function call, we take control of the bar width with the bins argument. This argument is a list of numbers marking where one bar ends and the next begins. We build that list with the range function, starting at min rest days, or in other words, our shortest rest. We end it at max rest days, plus 2, plus 1 to reach past our longest rest, and plus 1 more because the range function stops 1 short of the number we give it. Running the cell again, the bars are wider now. But the 3 bars now all blend together, which still makes the histogram hard to read. To fix that, there are 2 more arguments we can pass to the hist function. First is the edge color argument, which allows us to specify a border color between the bars. Second is the align argument, which keeps the bars consistently aligned on the x-axis. Running the cell with these changes, the bars are now cleanly separated. And the bars are centered over the numbers they correspond to, 3, 4, and 5. But we still have the pesky half-day tick marks cluttering up our x-axis. To get rid of those, we need to call the plt.hist function. This function takes a list of numbers and uses exactly those as labels. We build that list using range again, starting at min rest days just like before. But this time we stop at max rest days plus 1, not plus 2, since we're labeling each day itself rather than marking where the bar ends. Running the cell once more, the x-axis now shows exactly 3, 4, and 5, and nothing else. The histogram is finally easy to read. The bar width, the borders, and the labels all line up with our data. To make our chart as clear as possible, we'll also give it a title and label both axes. Running the cell one last time, we get our finished histogram. 2 tall bars stand at 3 and 4 days, with just a single shorter bar at 5. That means we didn't run frequently enough. Most of our rests landed 3 or 4 days, with one gap even stretching to 5. So heading into our next training block, we'll make sure to run more often. Awesome! You now understand how to find new libraries and modules, and you've gotten some experience using them in your code. If you want to learn more about any of the modules and libraries we used in this video, check out the links we left in the description. There's some helpful resources there. We're working on lots more Python explainer videos like this one, so be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss out. If you have any questions or topics that you'd like to learn more about, let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching!